Hallo, herzlich willkommen zur zweiten Folge von Suzerain Staffel 2 zusammen mit Apfel.
Hallo.
Letzte Folge sind wir zum Präsidenten gewählt worden. Und wir gehen heute ins Briefing zur aktuellen politischen Situation. Peter Werkton arrived a couple of minutes early and sat across from me. He was struggling to hold back his smile.
Wieder feste Dinge?
Wir hatten
Also
beim letzten Mal auch
festen
keine festen.
Okay. We did it, Anton. We won. Finally. All those years with our noses to the grindstone paid off.
Peter's eyes sparkled. The strain of the past month had put a damper on his usual rakish charm. But today he was looking and acting more like his old self. He loosened his tie and undid the top two buttons of his shirt.
Ja, nicht der beste Get-Up, wenn du gleich in einem Meeting sitzt.
Nee.
Enjoying the new secretary I picked out for you? Thought you'd appreciate her gorgeous set of talents. It's a shame the rest of your staff aren't as easy on the eyes.
He gestured to the slight paunch that protruded over his waistband.
In Erinnerung. But hey, back in university, did you ever imagine we would be sitting here in the Maroon Palace? We have to celebrate this great victory.
Let's celebrate then. I got my hands on something special for us. An heirloom maroon 30-year-old. We will celebrate at the inaugural ball. Just hang in there until the evening. This is not the time to celebrate, Peter. We have work to do.
Glas geht immer.
Eins, ja.
Eins, ja.
I opened the expensive bottle of whiskey and poured it in the two glasses I prepared. The exquisite smell filled the room immediately.
Sagt ich, jetzt habe ich verlesen und gelesen, the expensive smells okay. The 1924, that was my freshman year. Also the year after the revolution. Very difficult times, to be honest. But this smells like heaven.
The future awaits, Peter. Screw 1924. It is tainting this moment. Yeah, the future awaits, Peter.
Ja.
Toast. I raised my glass and toasted with Peter before smelling the whiskey and taking a sip. The sweet vanilla tone, combined with an oaky taste, developed into a lingering smokiness. Peter really seemed to be enjoying himself.
What a taste! This is how we should start all meetings, Anton. Da bin ich dabei.
We wouldn't get much done. Remember the last administration? We could, but maybe we shouldn't. 2.
2. Maybe not, but thanks for the drink. This is really amazing.
The door swung open and Lucian Galate, my chief strategist, walked in. He was a compact man with sharp, bird-like features. Bird-like features.
Bird-like?
After briefly surveying the room from wall to wall, he sat down, poured a glass of water, and opened his briefcase in a series of quick, graceful movements.
Schade diesen Vogel an.
Er ist richtig bird-like.
Er will das Lucian jetzt.
Gentlemen. Ich wollte nicht seinen Wikipedia-Eintrag öffnen. The tall case clock in the room struck 3 o'clock.
Damn, you're exactly on time.
Hello, Peter. Lucian then turned towards me. He very slightly bowed his head. Glad to see you, Lucian. Lucian, how are you? Let's not waste any time. Lucian, proceed with the overview. Ja, sind wir heute mal nett. Glad to see you, Lucian.
Ja.
It's a privilege to be here, sir. Lucian spoke in soft, clipped tones that immediately drew your attention towards what he had to say. Peter and I waited for him to proceed. Ich bin doch jetzt mittlerweile dafür, dass wir feste Sprechrollen machen.
Wieso?
Keine Ahnung, aber es ist... Kann halt passieren, dass es einer dann mehr lesen muss. Aber wir machen das jetzt. Letztes Mal hatten wir es nicht, diesmal machen wir es.
Hatten wir es nicht das letzte Mal,
Nee.
dass du über Peter warst, nicht über Lucian?
Kann sein, dass wir das hatten, aber wir haben nicht alle aufgeteilt.
Ja, alle nicht, weil irgendwann wurde es
Du
dann
woll-
auch unübersichtlich.
Du wolltest immer Lucian sein und ich war immer Peter, ja. Peter. Ja.
Peter, Digga.
Aber diesmal machen wir das richtig.
Ja.
So. Ich habe Anton und Lucian. Bis jetzt.
Jo.
Du hast Peter und wie heißt unser Fahrer?
Search.
Perfekt. Mehr hatten wir auch noch nicht. Ich glaube,
Okay.
mehr wichtige Charaktere. Let's start by evaluating our current situation. The majority of the Swedish people demand change. They are more concerned about the economy than the constitution, but they blame the system for their problems.
People are losing their trust in our democracy. Why do you think radicals like Bernard Circus are becoming more popular? Everyone's expecting us to bring the change the last government did not. It's a Swedish poet. Geil. Richter, ja.
Franz Richter, leader of the Reformists, believes that true change can only be accomplished by transferring some of our powers to the Assembly. I will move into the details of the demands shortly. I agree with the Reformists. Our responsibility is to democratize our broken system. Democratize, glaube ich. We need to listen to the people if we want to serve this country. If we lose power, we won't be able to execute the charges we need to make for the good of the country. Ja.
Ja.
Wollen wir wirklich Power aufgeben? Ich bin dagegen.
Ja, same.
It may create issues for us, yes. However, with the Reformists gaining more popularity, we may not be in a position to stand against them. Mr. Richter managed to persuade many members of the Assembly to give their support for drafting a new constitution. Reformists politicians are quickly increasing in number. While the Reformist wing inside our party is still a minority, they could have a tripartisan majority in the Assembly, especially if they unite under Franz Richter. The USP Reformists aren't wrong to agree that we need change, but we should be in charge. Mr. Richter could be a potential ally in our goal to maintain a majority in the Assembly. Our party must fall in line with our position. We can't have a strong divide. Ja. Bin eigentlich für 3.
Ja. True. If our party fractures, it's the opposition that will benefit. The Reformists' demands are clear. They want to limit the president's veto powers, ensure that the Supreme Court is independent, and take away the court's right to vote on constitutional amendments.
I support the Reformists. We need a proper balance in power in this country. We must listen to their demands, otherwise we are no different than the previous administration. I won't allow them to influence me. We will shape our own future. Ja. Können wir eine Regierung führen ohne die? Schwierig. Bin trotzdem für 3.
Ja.
I agree, sir. The old guard will do its best to preserve the Constitution. Chief Justice Hawker and his allied judges have a great influence over the Supreme Court, which will be tough to break.
The court also has the final say over constitutional legislation. Without their approval, we cannot even change it.
We'll need a comprehensive bill to balance the power structure more fairly. We must break the power of the Supreme Court one way or another. I'd rather not go against them. The risks are too high. Ja, 3. Habe ich jetzt einfach so entschieden.
We need to work with the Supreme Court one way or the other.
True, but we can't let the old guard manipulate us and then backstab us, like they did with Alfonso. Looks like we have many challenges ahead. We cannot allow obstructionists to exist. We can't underestimate this situation. Ja, 3.
We can figure it out. Our party still holds 130 out of 250 seats in the assembly. We've got the power.
Das ist aber nicht so viel.
Yeah.
However, to reform the constitution, we must receive a 2/3 majority in the Grand National Assembly, which is 166 votes, and a simple majority in the Supreme Court that equates to 6 votes. After we have settled on how to proceed, we will need to talk with our party figures. Our first goal must be to get the 150 signatures needed to start the process. Following the green light from the USP, we will reach out to the other party leaders to see if they would back our draft. The last step is to convince the justices of the court. The entire process will take a long time, but we must start working with the reform committee to evaluate all possibilities for a new constitution as soon as possible. We will write a more democratic constitution with the reformists. The new constitution should give the president wide-ranging powers to lead Swordland into the future. We could work with the old guard to protect our existing extensive powers. Ja.
Ja.
Ich glaube, wir müssen
ist, glaube ich, schlecht.
2 schlecht. Also ja.
Kommt aber, das
Also wenn wir das weiter ausbauen, natürlich. Aber ich glaube, das Gefährlichste, was wir kriegen können, ist den Old Guard gegen uns. Der dann einfach alles fickt von dem, was wir machen wollen.
How? You know the public wants us to enact extensive reforms. And how do we know if the old guard would support you?
Lucian raised an eyebrow. If we go against the demands of the people, the reformists will be furious. It could backfire. Okay. We can't do it.
Yeah.
It is not a risk worth taking, Mr. President. What do you suggest, Lucian? Ja, ich will eins sagen. According to the initial draft we made with the reformists, there are 2 changes into the constitution that are not open for their discussion. Lucian opened his desire. First, the Supreme Court will no longer vote on constitutional amendments. Second, the President's absolute veto will be taken away. This can be replaced with a limited veto system by fixing the current loopholes. I'd rather not include either of these points, but I have no problems with these clauses.
Ich weiß nicht, ob wir wirklich so dagegen gehen können.
We see now.
Die Reformists gegen uns haben, ist, glaube ich,
Ja,
nicht ganz so geil.
Wo kann ich denn nochmal nachschauen, wie unsere Sitzverteilung aussieht?
Da.
Okay, die Reformists haben nur 70 Stimmen. Wir müssen halt dann mit Kibbener zusammenarbeiten. National Front Party. He has been a member of the assembly since 1937. He represented the far right of the Swedish politics. Despite his views, he is respected by nationalists on both sides of the political spectrum. Es würde reichen, wenn wir mit ihm zusammenarbeiten.
Ja.
30 und 40? Wir sind ja bei 170. 166 brauchen wir. Wir müssen nicht unbedingt mit Richter zusammenarbeiten.
Ich habe gelesen, dass der von den Leuten im Bürgerkrieg für sehr viel für schuldig erklärt wurde, weil er so viel Gewalt irgendwie ausgeübt hat oder so.
Bin ich fein mit.
Ja. Fehler sind menschlich.
Ja, wir werden nicht mit den Reformists zusammenarbeiten. That will not be accepted by the Reformists. This draft has been created with the advice of both our party and PFJP members.
Keeping your absolute veto over legislation, but taking away the Supreme Court's influence over the Assembly would make it look like a power grab. The Reformists are pretty loud about their thoughts on their presidential powers, Anton. You know they think this position breeds dictators.
I don't care what they think. We can handle them. You're right. Let's address their demands. We need to address other, more important problems too.
God damn it.
Scheiß auf die. Schauen, wo uns das hinführt.
Komm.
To clarify, before we head in any particular direction, what are your intentions, sir? We must strengthen the state by removing the power of the old guard. The president needs to be able to exercise his powers with ease to maintain stability. I want to minimize the damage to my seat. Ja, 2.
Beste, was wir machen können.
I understand. We do not have to remove your veto. Instead, we can discuss limiting it with the Reformists. No, I will only support a new constitution that strengthens my position. Fair enough. Let's work with the Reformists. When I don't intend to pursue constitutional change, we will reach out to the old guard. Ja, 1 oder 3. Was machen wir?
Ich glaube, die Old Guard auf unserer Seite haben wäre schon das Beste.
Lucian scratches his head. Let us at least work with the Reform Committee to start taking with all stakeholders in the Assembly and the Court, just to query opinions. I'll try to reach out to the old guard in the meantime.
By later in the year, we should have an idea about the reform contents and what the other parties want. Then you can decide whether to pull the trigger.
Lucian took notes. Another important point, we must be aware of the Lotharberg group. The oligarchs convene under this organization to influence economic policies. Conrad led it for a long time before falling ill. The new leader is Mr. Walter Tusk. According to reports, some members of the National Business Council are in their pockets. Tusk and the group will surely try to bribe us in exchange for special economic protections. I want to work with them anyway. The new administration will be open to talk to businessmen. I won't be bored, it won't happen. I will enter a dialogue with them eventually. We need to be diplomatic. We won't let this privileged, greedy and snobby capitalists run the country. Ja, 4 schließt es nicht 3 aus. Theoretisch. Ich würde sagen 3 oder 4.
Ja, vielleicht mal einfach mal mit ihnen reden.
Okay, machen wir 3.
Vielleicht können wir die ja zu unseren
Puppets
Plan
machen.
überzeugen.
Wise approach. It's good to understand and see if we can reach a middle ground. Lucian looked at Peter.
As far as I know, Master Caronte has some strong ties to this group. His influence could definitely be an asset for us, but I'm sure he'll want something in return.
I'm aware of Mr. Caronte's wide network. That would come in handy. The group's influence is an important force, one that we should use to our administration's advantage. The group is dependent on our economic policies. They can't move a finger without us. Tusk is heading the group. We should make sure he's on our side. Ja, will ich jetzt auch wieder 3 oder 4 sagen.
Ja. Ja, aber das auf unserer Seite ist, wäre vielleicht nicht schlecht. He'd be a useful ally as well. Tusk has an incredible network and owns a good amount of Bircher steel.
We need to read carefully on all sides with all power players to survive our turn. I need to underline the seriousness of the situation. Our election campaign promised to focus on the military. This was a safe choice. The military and the general staff are a powerful element in this state, and as history tells us, a dangerous one too. The military can be close allies, and with the Rumbok threat on the horizon, we need them. The Swedish armed forces represent our pride as a nation and will be funded as promised. I don't want to die in prison just like Arthur S. Whiskey did. Ja, 1 oder 2?
Ja, 1, oder?
Rumbok is a massive threat, one that also requires us to ally with other stronger nations. Defense Minister Josef Lancia is more loyal to us compared to General Kruger, a fact that obviously can change with our actions. Either way, I see a potential rift between the two since they are clearly of different minds.
If we act strongly against the military, both of those guys will unite against us. I agree with Lucian. We need to treat carefully here.
Lucian looked at his watch. Well then, gentlemen, precisely 30 minutes. This concludes our political briefing for today. Our next meeting will be about our media strategy. Talk to you soon, sir. I will keep in touch.
See you both at the next meeting.
Lucian and Peter bid their farewells and left. A mysterious amount of smoke was rising far away on the horizon. Was? Was für ein Rauch? Fire strikes holes at State University Archive. Also
Oh.
nicht gut. Egal. Gut, aber dann war's es mit der zweiten Folge von Suzerain. Lasst doch ein Like und ein Abo da, wenn es euch gefallen hat. Schaut auch beim nächsten Mal wieder vorbei. Und tschüss.
Tschüss.